The Canadian Real Estate Association has released their latest market forecast, and they seem to think that it's going to be full steam ahead for Nova Scotia in 2024. Now, although they seem to change up their numbers drastically every time they release one of these forecasts, which are done quarterly, overall, this one is very in line with my market predictions for the 2024 calendar year, and they do think that we're going to be second on the list for Canada in terms of price growth, and also second on the list in terms of the number of sales increase as well across the country. So I'm going to jump right into this one and get into the details. But before I do, if you're new here, my name is Andrew Stevens, and I've been a realtor in Halifax for 9.5 years. And if you want to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then this is the channel for you. So hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to book a call or meet with me to chat about the real estate market, if you're thinking about making a move in Halifax, you can do so anytime in the Calendly link below my description at a time when it's convenient for you. Okay, so let's start off with price points, and this is the one that most people are going to be the most interested in. And CREA has us forecasted to be the second highest price growth in the country at 4.3%. Now, this would bring our average price point in Nova Scotia up to about $442,000. And this percentage of price growth is sitting only behind Alberta, who they have forecasted at 6.3%. And this is also well above the national average. So the Canadian average they're projecting in 2024 would be 2.3%. So we're right in the middle of the Canadian average and the top one, which is Alberta in this forecast. And if I look at my predictions for 2024, this is pretty in line with what I was expecting this year. All right, so let's move on to price points, and I feel like this is one that everybody wants to hear about. So I'm going to predict that in 2024, the Halifax home prices are going to increase by 4% or higher. Now, logically speaking, I think this price forecast makes sense because I think the Bank of Canada is going to start to decrease rates later on in this year. And once that happens, I believe buyer confidence will increase. I believe buyer demand will increase. And therefore, I believe that will have upward pressure on pricing. Now, if I look at January specifically, I would say we're very well on course for this 4% growth because in January, we saw just about 16% growth year over year, 2024 January versus 2023 January in the province of Nova Scotia. However, that being said, I do expect this to level out as last year we kind of had a slow start and then we kind of increased as the year went on. So I do think this will come back to reality a little bit throughout the year and that will close the gap, bringing it a little bit closer down to that 4% increase that I'm projecting and that CREA is forecasting as well. Now, moving on to the forecast of the number of sales, we're also slated to be second highest increase on the list for Canada in 2024, and we're projected to have 13.2% sales increase year over year, and this is sitting only behind Ontario at 13.9% growth. And again, this one is above the Canadian average, which is 10%, and there's only 3 provinces in Canada that are projected to have a growth of double digits in terms of sales volume year over year. Now, I definitely expect sales to go up because in HRM specifically, we had the lowest number of sales since 1995. So I definitely think sales are going to go up this year. And again, I think with the buyer demand and the buyer confidence increase, which I'm projecting for around the midway point of the year, I think this will have a big uptick in the amount of sales that we're going to see. And now I do think 13.2% is a little bit on the high side. And if I look back to my prediction that I made earlier this year, here is what I'm predicting. So I'm going to say that sales are going to rise by 8% or more in 2024. So that would put us up to about 5,150 sales in the HRM in 2024. And if I look at the stats in January for Nova Scotia, sales were up about 12% year over year for January 2024 versus January of 2023. So I would say we're tracking pretty well towards that number. But overall, let's not get too excited because this is just 1 month of data and there's a long way to go until the end of 2024. Now, although it seems like CREA is back and forth every time they make a forecast, especially with regarding the Atlantic provinces, it seems that right now, leading into 2024, they're feeling pretty confident in the stability and the overall strength of our real estate market here in Nova Scotia. And I would say that this price growth forecast of 4.3% is much more in line with the average. If I look at a 40-year average in Nova Scotia, it's sitting right around 5% average price growth. So after a few years of very very, very high growth. And then last year was a little bit on the low end. I would suggest this is good for everybody, as everybody here wants to see a more balanced and a more stable and a more realistic real estate market that's not going off the rails and not seeing double-digit price increases year over year over year. So if this is accurate, I would suggest this is a good thing, and most people should want to see a more balanced and a more stable real estate market here in the province of Nova Scotia. Now, if you're still here watching and you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content, and that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in being educated about the Nova Scotia real estate market. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and have a great day.